What's up guys, Houndish here, and today we're jumping in with some Destiny 2 news coming in the form of This Week at Bungie. And the update we get today isn't absolutely massive, but we do get some teasers from Bungie about the reveal for the next lot of content that we're going to see. They also tease us a little bit about the end of the season and the kind of story conclusion there. And then they talk about Twitch Prime loot, things to be aware of as we come to the end of Season of the Worthy, and we've got a few other things to speak about in the video. But first, guys, thank you so much for the support on the channel. We're nearly at 510k subs and you guys are making it happen, so I've got to say thank you for that once again, and I appreciate all of you who have stuck around, and all of you guys who have subscribed recently as well. If you do want to join us, then feel free to hit that subscribe button, as we're going to have an entire new season of content and reveals to keep posted on shortly. But either way, cheers for being here, it really does mean a lot. Now jumping into This Week at Bungie, they say, we look to the sky. Ever since the season began, the Almighty has been hurtling through space on its collision course with Earth, and the Cabal are not known for their grateful defeats. Every day we spend preparing our long-lost Seraph to mount a response, that derelict destroyer rockets ever closer to our home, spelling certain doom for the city. But they end by saying, Rasputin is at full power, we're as ready as we'll ever be. Now, eclipsing our own sun is a stark reminder that a great threat approaches. Eyes up. And of course they're referring to the Almighty in the sky, visible from the tower, and interestingly, it is getting ever so slightly bigger on every single daily reset. Some of you eagle-eyed Guardians no doubt will have noticed that already. But in terms of when the conclusion for the season and the ultimate story event associated with the Almighty actually will take place, well, who knows, maybe they'll excite us and surprise us before next week's reset, but once again at the very latest, Tuesday is when we're probably going to see it, if it doesn't happen before. And yes, let's hope it's going to be rather spectacular. But they say, what's next? Destiny has been a shared pastime for long enough now to have established some strong traditions. Each year that we spend in service of the Guardians, we can mark our calendars by the next development milestone we'll reach or the next event we'll attend to spread the news. Some of us have had the remarkable privilege to travel the world and meet some of you fine people to talk about what comes next, but this year finds us in a scenario that puts us all far away from business as usual. And basically, all flights originating from the tower are grounded and development of Destiny 2 continues, but we are working from the safety of our homes. Deej goes on to say, we have exciting news to share with you about our plans, but it won't happen at some fancy convention under hot lights. Instead, we'll use the internet. If you're familiar with the rituals and cycles that mark a year in the life of a Guardian, you must be curious as to when we'll begin the conversation about what's next. We can't put a date on that just yet, but it'll be very soon, and that's a promise. We know you're hungry for all the news, and we're just as eager to deliver it. He ends by saying, keep your eyes trained on Bungie for updates. We'll stream our announcements in the usual places, and you'll learn about next season at the same time that we talk about the next chapter in this story that has been unfolding all year long. And so that's a pretty interesting one. Of course, a reveal for next season is absolutely on the way. But from the language Deej is using right there, of course they're talking about much bigger stuff coming down the road as well, and the potential for us to learn not only about next season, but also stuff that will come after that once these reveals start rolling out. So now we also have the official word from Bungie, and we can expect a lot of news, be it the Season 11 stuff starting in just over a week's time, but also the big expansion coming later on this year. And so give us your thoughts about that down below, guys. I will be keeping you posted as always with the news right here on the channel, but also 5 weeks ago, Bungie promised a series of deep dives on the state of Destiny and how they plan to change it in Season 11 and Year 4. They say they enlisted 7 members of the Destiny team to provide as much detail as they could, and they encourage folks to go back and check over some of the topics that they spoke about over the past few weeks. But they say, we've covered a lot of ground, and while you're going to continue to provide updates each week to topics you care about, we want to shift our focus in the coming weeks. We've said a lot about changes coming in Year 4, but we haven't talked about how Year 4 begins, and very soon we'll do just that. We kicked off the series of deep dives with some promises, but I want to end the series on a more personal note and trying to figure out how we keep building the game we love from our laptops has had me thinking a lot about commitment. Evolving Destiny 2 in an open and transparent way involves showing and shipping plenty of missteps along with the improvements. But we're committed to the game, to staying transparent about the plans, and to the relationship we have with our community. And the reasons we started on this journey 10 years ago haven't changed. We're committed to building a world that anyone can be a part of, where everyone can feel powerful, and where you might reconnect with old friends or make new ones. So we look forward to continuing the conversation and continuing to evolve Destiny together. And in 12 days, we can't wait to show you more of what we've been working on. Very interestingly, that date correlates with June 9th. And so it seems like the bridge between Season 11, Season 12, Year 4, and the kind of wider conversation about the future of Destiny all looks a little bit blurred versus what we've seen in the past, potentially. They are leaving us also to speculate a little bit about how they're actually going to deliver what they're talking about here. And so again, give us your thoughts about it down below, guys. And yes, they're talking about a reveal happening 12 days from today, which also happens to be the start of the next season, so once again, we better get ready for things to get lively. Let us know what you think about that, but here Bungie talk about Twitch Prime, and we do have new rewards for the current month, so that's going to include the Prospector, the exotic weapon, as well as the Belvedere Prospector ornament, and then we have the Hecuba S Sparrow and the Pintail Shell as exclusive Twitch Prime rewards, so if you want to check those out, you can follow the link to the TWAB down below. And they also point out that Almighty, Flawless, and Conqueror seal pins are now available through Bungie rewards, so that's something to look into if you're interested. And once again, they have a list in there of items and content that's going to be going away with the end of this season. But otherwise, on the subject of TWAB, definitely be sure to mark June 9th in the calendar, man. Looks like a content drop and a reveal is likely to happen all at the same time, so give us your thoughts once again down below. Moving to some other updates and worthy mentions here though, Fluffy Pup posted a sunsetting chart for weapons and armor, which is really useful actually, as it demonstrates when sunsetting is going to start and at which periods in time it's going to affect different types of gear. So there isn't going to be any sunsetting in Season 11, although Bungie had said that they will display in the UI which pieces of gear are going to be sunset. And then starting in Season 12, items up to Season 8 are going to be sunset, so you can see that includes up to Season of Opulence, but also Shadowkeep, the first season from the previous year. And this is referring specifically to legendary weapons and armor. But then in Season 13, we can see that stuff from Season 9 in Season of Dawn will sunset, and then in Season 14, it will apply to the content from Season 10. I'll link this post down below because it's pretty useful. They do point out though that there is a question over Season 9 to Season 11 armor and whether it can still be infused after Season 11 but will no longer accept Season 12 mods. There's a little bit of a lack of clarity about that, but also Last Wish and Garden of Salvation raid gear won't actually sunset, so as far as Bungie said, those more recent Pinnacle items will have more kind of relaxed rules and mechanisms around that infusion. But when it comes to sunsetting and power capping, there's a lot of conversation specifically about weapons. However, for armor, it maybe won't be quite as bad or won't feel quite as sore, because while they are being power capped, the seasonal mod slot is being removed and turned into a yearly mod slot essentially. And so it's a bit better than the 3-season thing we have at the moment. But it's also interesting because based on what Bungie have said, the new engram type coming in Season 11 will be able to be upgraded and have a focusing category on high stat rolled armor. So hopefully this will be one of the ways that Bungie intend to kind of mitigate the issue of having to grind for good armor. And they've also said that Pinnacle armor will be improved as well, which hopefully will include stat rolls as the community have asked for. And so while we're going to have to wait and see, these new systems could actually be pretty interesting. But of course that one's on Bungie to deliver, and they've added that feedback is being received about masterworking materials and the community are saying, which I agree with, by the way, but collectively, the consensus from the community is that if sunsetting is going to be a thing, then please let's amp up the ways in which we can earn masterworking materials, right? Gear upgrades at the moment probably feel a little bit too cumbersome for quite a few players, so for casual players it's quite slow, but also for hardcore players where maybe we have pretty good gear. If a lot of these processes were kind of sped up a little bit, it may mean that we could have more varied sets of gear, right? There's still a reason to put a bunch of hours into the game because there are more options to build multiple sets of gear and masterwork them, you know, focusing around different raids, endgame PvE, and of course PvP content. And while it's doable at the moment, it definitely is a pretty long-winded process, which is part of the reason that players indeed feel frustration about sunsetting in the first place. So it's kind of an interesting cycle really, and I'm very curious to hear what you guys think down below. But once again, these are things that Bungie are going to have to clarify a little bit as we approach the fall drop. The final thing to mention here is a new blog post from Bungie about the development and art direction for the bunkers this season. So this one focuses on a lot of artwork from Dima Goivanov, which is a name that I'm probably saying horribly, and I do apologize, but they're one of the senior artists, and right here we can see some of that classic Destiny style graphic design. But when it came to creating actual bunkers for Rasputin, of course the theme and everything like that kind of made sense already, and they said that the gameplay systems were already in place for kind of bunkers and upgrades and interacting with the vendor, I guess, but Demas said that on the reference board there was a photo of Deckard's apartment from Blade Runner, and was an inspiration in that it's a dark-lit, super intimate, quiet place where players could go and hang out. But also they speak about having that kind of intimacy with Rasputin, but feeling like Rasputin is an actual being, right? A presence in the space and not just a picture. And this was one of the ways they did it, by having Rasputin kind of hover above the player. You can get close up to the screens face to face, and even see Rasputin follow you around the room. And then of course there are the elements of industrial design, so they said that there's a single speaker in the room that Rasputin used to talk to researchers. And then the big cluster on the ceiling has all these cables, sensors, and cameras that point toward the center of the room, allowing Rasputin to see the person speaking to him. And as they're speaking, there are people sitting at consoles recording everything that Rasputin is saying, decoding and storing it. So when you walk into the bunker, you start to understand the background of the Seraph researchers that made Rasputin. And that's a really interesting insight, isn't it? A very curious, expansive sci-fi idea there that you've got researchers kind of apprehensively listening and waiting to see how this artificial intelligence is going to react. So just very cool insights into some of the design decisions and ideas behind the aesthetic of the bunkers and Rasputin inside of Destiny 2 Season of the Worthy. So if you want further insights about that, there are quite a few more images and explanations, then I'm going to link that blog post down below as well as the TWAB. But for today, guys, that is everything that we have to speak about in the video. So once again, I really do appreciate all of the support you guys have shown. And if you've enjoyed the video, but want to keep up to date with the world of Destiny 2, then be sure to hit that subscribe button so that I can keep you posted when we get new DLC info. More and more details will certainly roll out over the next couple of weeks. So turn on those notifications, but otherwise if you've enjoyed the video, a rating below really helps me out, and I appreciate you guys being here as always. But for now, whatever you get up to, I hope you have an awesome day.